Hello and welcome to the kitchen in my home here in Sussex, England. If you've not been here before, I'm Tracy and this is episode 2 of my winter decorating series. And we kicked off last week by doing a makeover on the kitchen table and chairs. Now we're going to go outside and get some inspiration in order to decorate the kitchen. We're lucky here to have some lovely land and I just love shopping Mother Nature. It is the best supermarket in the world. Now rush hour is over, the deer have gone through, so we can start looking for some inspiration and collecting things to decorate with. Now when I look around here, the colours that I see are browns, grey, green, white, so that's going to be my inspiration. I've collected some twigs, I've got some cut greenery, we've got lots of bulbs starting to poke through and lichen on the trees. It grows so well here because the air is so very clean, so I'm going to pick some of that. Also some moss. We are very wet and mild, so we get lots of moss. These terracotta pots are interesting, so I might do something with those. The wheelbarrow has come out, so I'm going to collect some up. I don't know how many I need, so I think actually I'm just going to pick up all the ones that I can find. I love to reuse what I already have, revamp, use it in a different way. I just find it so much more challenging and it really makes me be more creative. We've come into the laundry room where I've washed all the terracotta pots and I've brought in the moss and the lichen. Now back in November I planted up some narcissi bulbs and they've just been sat on a tray in the laundry room in front of a window and they're starting to sprout, which is mirroring what is happening outside. To make these look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, I'm going to take some of the moss and the lichen and cover up all that dark brown soil. When you're looking for inspiration for decorating your home, I would always recommend, first of all, go outside, go for a walk, have a look around. What's in your natural environment? What is Mother Nature doing at that moment in time? And take your lead from there. Now, to decorate a table, I always pull the chairs back. It just makes life a lot easier. I'm going to put on a runner that I picked up from HomeSense. It was reduced down to just £7. So I thought that's going to be a lovely base just to run along there. And yes, the tape measure is coming out because I'm very OCD and I like things just to be, when they're meant to be centered, to be centered. Now I'm going to measure off on this scaffold board the exact center point. So it means that I only have to maneuver this once because I can line up that pencil mark with the middle of the table. I'm going to use a garland that my son Giles brought back from Hobby Lobby in Chicago when he was last out in America. And I use these all year round. They are such amazing value. So if you are in America and you are lucky enough to be able to access Hobby Lobby, then I would definitely recommend this garland. Unfortunately, I can't link it because they won't let me onto their website here in the UK. I've spread all the strands out around the table. They're not actually going to stay like that, but it's just so I can see where the lengths are. And then at the end, when I've done what I want to do with it all, I'm going to weave them back onto the board. Now, regular viewers will know I have quite a collection of brass candlesticks. These are all vintage candlesticks that I've picked up at auction, at fairs, charity shops, thrift stores. I'm always on the lookout for them, and you can never have too many because they're so versatile. You can incorporate them into all sorts of designs. Now here I'm going to add some old candles that I've got. They're a beigey colour. I got these from TK Maxx Home Sense, and they are sand and fog originally. This display at the moment is kind of a crossover between winter into spring, but as those narcissi come through, I can switch the candles out and put yellow ones, and I've instantly got a spring display. If you wanted to embellish this further, then you could always add twigs, pine cones, fairy lights, dried flowers, dried seed heads, maybe that you used in your autumn decorating, in your fall decorations. And as I always say, we are limited by our own imaginations. Just go for it, have some fun with it. So that's my winter tablescape done, and we're going to move over into the corner where Big Mo sits. Now, Big Mo was found at auction. She was dirty and broken and sat forlorn in a corner, and I bought her for £80, gave her a big makeover, and now we absolutely adore her. She sits here in the corner with a mirror that I picked up from auction and did a white distress on, and the copper cluster fairy lights that I've been using over Christmas are going to go back on her after I've decorated her. Now, this leopard print chair was one of my very first auction finds. It must have been 25, 30 years ago that I picked that up. It's Victorian oak, solid oak. It weighs a ton, and I paid just £5 and then reupholstered in that fabric. And it's lasted all this time. It's just such a wonderful chair, and it normally sits in the hallway, but over the Christmas period I had to move various chairs around because of Christmas trees and visiting guests. And it's been lovely having it in the kitchen, that I've decided actually through the rest of the winter I'm going to leave it in this room. Now, these stone ornaments that I'm bringing in, again, regular viewers will know about this faux stone technique that I have. If you're new to the channel, I will link some videos below that show you how I create this stone effect. Those little pots that I put up there were actually glass Christmas ornaments a few years back, and they got the stone treatment. It's a great effect to use if you've got mismatched vases and pots and objets d'art and you want to create some uniformity. And also if you've got broken ones. So this great big, it is glass vase with a lid, actually the foot of it got broken, so there's a big chunk missing. So I covered it all in the stone effect, and there we go. It lives on. It didn't end up in the bin. The fairy lights are coming back out, and if I can manage, I will shuffle this chair back into position, and then that's that little corner done. I'm really happy with that. Time to go up high, and you may have noticed I am somewhat vertically challenged, so the ladders are coming out. Now, in my Christmas decorating series, I made some pine cone clusters. If you want to know how to do these, then I'll link the video below for you to have a look at. I've taken off the ribbons that I put on. I had some Hessian ribbon on there and some velvet ribbon, and I'm not really a ribbon kind of gal. I think my style is slightly more masculine than feminine, so I was happy to run with a few bows and things through the Christmas period, but not in winter. So I'm just going to tie a knot on the top, which just tidies up the ends where they've all been snipped off the different strands. I've popped those on there. At the moment they seem to work, but I think decorating a room is very much like painting a picture, working your way around a canvas, and it's not until you've got all that form on there that you know whether or not you're happy with everything. So we will see at the end of the video whether they stay. onto the big wooden dresser. Now I'm very happy with the earthenware vases there and this mirror that I picked up in a bundle of mirrors from the auction. The rusting snowflake that I used at Christmas, my lamp, they all stay on there because they just work. And at the end of the day, you go with what suits you, suits your home. You don't have to change things just for the sake of changing it. However, I do want to do a switcheroo on the top. I have a new addition for the top of the dresser, and it is this really heavy twig wreath. In fact, I loved it so much, I bought 5 of them, and that's all that was in stock at TK Maxx online between Christmas and the New Year. They were reduced, they were massively reduced. I was tempted over to the dark side, I can only apologise. I have actually made twig wreaths myself before with cuttings from the field, and I can tell you that it takes so much effort and it takes so much time that I actually paid £20 for each of those wreaths, and that is an absolute bargain for the amount of work that has gone into that. So there we go. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I do. It's fine. Does anyone else feel guilty when they go shopping, or is it just me? Anyway, I'm going to redeem myself with more freebies. So the twigs that we collected earlier this morning, they are going to go up there. I used twigs when I did the Christmas styling, and then lots of greenery as well. And actually, I really loved bringing that dresser all the way up to the ceiling. So I've brought the twigs in, and that's my little representation of winter going on up there. So I've got my colours on there. I've got the brown, the grey, the white. I want to put a little pop of green, so I'm going to do a vessel within a vessel. And that way I know that I'm not going to get any water seeping through this pot, which is quite porous. And I've taken some clippings of yew, and that's going to be my pop of green. Moving on to this little nook here, I popped in a torchère candle and some earthenware at Christmas time, and I really like it there, so it's going to stay, and it's going to be joined by another one of these huge twig wheels. I am going to pop in a sheepskin over this chair that we use all the time, and a clean white blanket, which obviously Bertie, my Labrador, would not dream of sitting on because he's so well behaved. Now, moving around to the business side of the kitchen, we're going to do the countertops and the islands. But just before we get there, on top of the fridge freezer, there is an old basket that's got some pine cones in. And I'm going to add a few more of these. I love pine cones. And of course, you make them open up by popping them into the oven overnight. So I just use my warming oven on the range, 70 degrees, and they open up beautifully. I'm adding some faux eucalyptus, which I think is a great staple of your faux greenery. Don't know if I'm loving that though, but we'll see later. Now the copper cluster lights, again, I used along the countertops at Christmas. Love them. Well, I'm going to leave them, because I think at this time of year you need lots of light. This great big pot I did at Christmas time, and I filled it full of old packing material and then wedged in some branches from the field, another one of the garlands that Giles brought back from America, few pine cones. And at Christmas time I did lots of embellishments on it, you know, put in more greenery and baubles. But actually, as it is at the moment, I love the fact that it just fills that window reveal. So that can definitely stay just as it is. I'm going to add some more atmospheric light along here with some candelabras. They were originally glass and I've painted them with chalk paint. And remember, if you've got wonky candles, museum wax is your friend. I will link it below. And I'm also going to add another candelabra at the other side as well, just so I've got a bit of symmetry there around the range cooker. If you were with me in the summer months, you'll have seen my shop and haul where I found this huge serving board for just was $14.99. Didn't like the colour of it, and I sanded it and white oiled and sealed with a food safe top oil, and I did exactly the same with the smaller boards as well, and we use them all the time. Now, working our way along the countertop, we come to this corner and there's a wreath up here. It's just a cheap old wreath base and then a couple of lengths of cheap faux greenery from Amazon, and I decorate it for each of the seasons. I've taken out the Christmas embellishments, and for winter I was going to spray some hydrangea heads, but I decided I'm going to use this covered florist wire, use an ice cream scoop and just wrap the wire around, snip off the end and take off, and you have these lovely spirals, and for some reason they just fascinate me. I absolutely love them, so I'm going to add a few more of these. I don't know why I'm spiral obsessed, but I seem to be. I've got a TK Maxx pot here that I did my faux stone effect on. Again, I'm going to use a vessel within a vessel, not only because it's porous, but also because it's very wide necked. So using a smaller vessel inside with the water in means that you can contain the arrangement, you can control it better. I'm using clippings of Leylandii here. I love to decorate with Leylandii all year round because you pop it into water and it lasts for months and it doesn't drop. Now, sometimes you can see the jar inside, so you could use this fabric trick with any type of material. Personally, I prefer the Hessian, and I just tuck it in around and it adds a little bit of interest and it stops you seeing the vessel that's inside. To move on to the islands now. Now, I love to have a tray on the side in the kitchen just to pop things in, and one thing I've been putting in recently is a magnifying glass, not for aesthetics but just because it's so useful when you are getting older and you can't read all those tiny labels. This candelabra here I've had for a long time, and I use it to burn up all my stubby candles, all the little ends that are left, because you don't want waste, do you? Now onto the big island, my big boy. I love this island so much. I picked up this trug at the Malvern Fair. There's a video on that, I'll link it below. And I've used old packing material and a piece of Hessian. Again, another one of these garlands is coming out that Giles brought back from America. I've got 4 in total. I'm actually using 3 of them in the kitchen at the moment. I love them. I'm just going to spread this around and make sure I've got some of the bits trailing over the edge onto the island. Then I'm going to add some more of the big pine cones. I mean, these work all year round in decorating. Pine cones are not just for Christmas. Along with the pine cones, I'm also going to add some baubles that I made in my Christmas decorating. So these stone baubles are actually just cheap gold things underneath. I was going to clip off the hangers, but they kind of work. They work with the Hessian, so I'm going to leave those on. If you want to know how to make these, they're in the same video that the pine cluster arrangements are in. So again, that'll be linked below. So that is adding the kind of texture that I want to. It pulls in the other stone effect that I'm using in the kitchen. I'm also going to bring out some of the teasels that I dried this time last year, actually, and then I used them in my fall decorating. So again, you can bring out your dried grasses. Have a look at your, not just your Christmas decor that you can reuse, but look at your autumnal decorations as well. You may be pleasantly surprised at just how many of those things you can use in winter decorating. And I think just a few spirals and it will finish it off. And there you go. You've got a really simple centerpiece that you can use on a table, on a sideboard, on a dresser, or if you've got an island, in the middle of your island. Now the kitchen is done, I can revisit those pine cone clusters, and I've decided actually it was just a bit too much. So I've taken those down, and I've also taken out the eucalyptus that I put in the basket on top of the fridge because it was just too busy. As I say, it's like painting a picture, so don't be afraid to add or take away. So episode 3 of my winter decorating series is going to be coming next Sunday at 2 p.m. and we're going to be making over a coffee table and decorating the snug, which is just up those stairs. Take care, and I hope to see you next week.